Hey guys, what's going on? It's Trey here from My Custom Life, and I was going to make this video the other day. It's one that I had previously made a video of. I was going to show the process of rough shaping this Santoku paring knife, and I was having some camera difficulties, so I wasn't able to get the video, but this is the shape as it is right now, profiled. It's 1/4 inch thick, so it's going to be some pretty decent stock removal, but I'm going to do a video real quick of file work on the spine. Now, I've only done this once before. I looked up a decent, pretty easy diagram, and I was able to do it on this knife. And it's just standard vine with thorns file work. And this is the knife that I'm making for my personal use. And how I did it was fairly simple. I went online and I just typed in file work on the spine of a knife, and I looked at the images, and there were some images that came up of actual finished work, and then if you scroll down, I found a diagram that showed the spine like this, and then it showed you how to mark it, and then it showed you how to file it, and then how to finish it up. So I'm going to do that today on this knife. Now, I got my calipers over here. I've already measured out from here to here. I got 62 millimeters, and so if you want, usually what I did on this one is I wanted 7 thorns. So if you look at it and count, there's 7 thorns from the bottom right here to the top up here. There's 7 thorns. And how to do that is I marked out 62 millimeters and then just divided by 7. And so I've already done the math, so it's 8.85 millimeters. These aren't the greatest calipers. I'm going to be getting me a new pair, but they work for their intended purpose. And so I'm just going to mark out there we go, 8.5 millimeters, starting from the top. Oh, I forgot. These calipers are not the greatest ones because they are a carbon fiber composite caliper jaws. They're not steel, which kind of sucks. But anyway, see if I can keep this in view. But let me do it this way. Might be easier. Go up here, 8.5 millimeters. Ooh, that file is dirty. There we go, 8.5 millimeters. I'll just make a little line right there. Can I see that? I cannot see that. Okay. There we go. That's not straight, but it's alright. I know where it's at. Oh, calipers got up one. There we go. Okay. So now we got those marked. You can go through and I'm trying to see if I can find. I guess I could just use a straight edge on this. That'll work just fine. Go ahead and find and get on here. And you can actually score them straight. Okay, so now it might be hard. Actually, no, that shows up pretty good. All right, I was gonna say from my angle, it's kind of hard to see. But anyway, now that you got your lines marked out, what I used, you can use jeweler's files, which I do use jeweler's files in the end process, but I use standard files. I use a round file and a half round file to get the shape started, and then I use jeweler's files to finish it up, kind of get in nooks and crannies a little bit easier. But as you can see, these knots, these marks right here, what you're going to do is go on the opposite side each one, and you're going to use the round file. You can use a jeweler's file or a standard file, and you're going to notch it. See if I can do it real quick, make it look easy. I know there's way easier ways to get it started than this, but there we go. Oh man, it's going to shake the camera a bunch. Dang it, it's going to shake my camera a whole bunch. Alright, hang on one second. Let me go ahead and pause this video. Alright, sorry about that. I was having a little bit of trouble with my camera moving. See if I can keep it from... Alright, so, just to get these started, you're you're going to use your round file, standard file, or jeweler file, like I said. And you're going to start this notch. Now you don't have to make it super deep. You can if you want to. You'll be doing some more profiling later. Make it go roughly close to halfway. Trying to see if I can angle my camera so it sees that a lot better. Alright, it looks a little bit better. Alright, now that you got that one, you're going to go to this side. Whoa, camera's moving on me. Okay. And you're going to do the same thing. Alright. And you're going to do that all the way down. Go on this side, then you go to this side, then you go to this side, and you cross sides all the way to the bottom. And I'll show you what that's like when it's done. Alright, and that's what it looks like when you're done. Now, as you can already see, just by these notches, you can already see a little bit of a vine going up the front. The shape of the vine, anyway. One thing to remember, and this is something that I should have already known, and I had an idea of, or I kind of knew, but really came clear to me. And most of you already probably know this. Files only cut in one direction. Right, they're see if I can focus. It's not going to, oh, there we go. As you can see, the way it's cut, it only cuts in one direction. Like I said, most of you probably already know that, and I always make sure to keep your files clean. I got this little brass brush. I got it just in a gun cleaning kit. Well, I guess not, in a kit. It was a 3-brush kit. There was a plastic brush, a steel brush, and a brass brush. And always keep your files clean. I've went through a couple of files just because I didn't keep them clean, and I was filing both directions, and it just tore the file up. So anyway, now that you got this done, you can go ahead and sand the paint off. I did, just for one, don't need it anymore, and two, it just shows up better on camera too. Anyway, so now what you're going to do is you can take, see if I can find my jeweler's file again. If you can take a jeweler's file, or you could take just your standard half-round file, it'll work as well. Make sure you get your I got my half-round jeweler's file, whichever one that works. And in front of every single notch, it's like this notch right here, in front of it, you're going to file a little nick, a little notch. Kind of like that. And you just keep going. This is why I use the bigger files, because they cut. There's more file there. It cuts a little better. But the jeweler's file will work just fine as well if that's all you got. Now, that's what you're going to do in front of every single notch. See this notch right here? You're going to do it in front. Every notch, you always do it in front. And then you can go in with your jeweler's file and clean it up, make it look a little better. Oh, don't file the top. I want to file that nick away. And that's going to be the start of your thorns. Once you get it established, then you can go ahead and file a little closer, making it more of a point, kind of like I did on this one. Each one I file closer to make it look like an actual point instead of just a square. But that's the beginning of it. You go ahead and file it out. And it doesn't have to be farther away or super close. You just want it to be a decent amount where it kind of starts as a square. That way you can file up to it and make it look good instead of filing too close. And then, you know, once you take metal off, you can't put it back on. So always give room to improve or room to mess with. If you file too much, then, you know, you're kind of screwed. Get it started like that one. I'm going to use my bigger file because there's more meat on it. There's more levers. There's just more file. But anyway, go ahead and get them started. Use the corner. Get them started. And then you can go through with this, you know, your jeweler's file or your bigger file, and you can make them deeper, kind of like this one, or you can make it even deeper than that. Let me see if I can get my camera to make it look a little bit better, closer. There we go, that's a little better. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go through this and file each and every one of these, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, and this is what you're going to end up with once you have all these established. Now, I know it doesn't quite look like this just yet, but I'll show you how to do that. Now, as you can see on this one, after each notch, it's nice and rounded. And that's what we're going to do next to make it look more of the vine pattern. So you can do this with a bigger file, but this is where I use my jeweler's files. It just makes it a whole lot easier. Now you get in here and you just file away these edges, always in front of the notch that you just made for the thorn. You can file ahead and then make sure to file it into the first circular notch you use with your half round file or your round file. And what that'll do is that'll take this edge and slightly round it, making it curve as well as every other one you're doing. And so it'll curve into a vine pattern. So you take the flat part of your file, and make it curve into that first notch. This one's a little bit more difficult because it's a lot smaller of a space to work with, but the first one you just make it curve into the spine. That way it just kind of blends in. Alright, and so after every single one, use the flat side of the file and just round it off. And now you can see it's starting to take that vine shape. And this is where you can get really detailed. You know, you can make the file from this side go as deep down into the handle as you want. I usually don't do it too far because then I'm going to put some scales on this that are going to meet up to the sides. And then I'm just going to fill this in with epoxy, so clear epoxy, so you can still see it. But, you know, for me, it doesn't really matter how far down into the blade or into the handle that I go. Make sure to get this corner. And then there's the vine pattern. There you can see where it's kind of serpentines back and forth. And you can mess with it a little bit, make it look as perfect as you want. If you want every single, if you want every single, daggum, lost my words. If you want every single vine shape to look exactly alike, you know, you can do your best to do so. For me, every single one's going to be different. Some of us obviously you can see it's going to be thinner. Some of it's going to look a little wider. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like when you use your flat face or your half round file, or you can use just a standard jeweler's flat file. That'll work just fine too. But I find that these work really well because once you start getting into the first notches you made, then you can use the half round to kind of blend it all together. So now what you're going to do is, now that you have your vine pattern established, you can go ahead and go back through and start sharpening, so to speak, all these notches that you filed in. Okay? And so what'll happen is it'll put them all to a point, just like this one, making it look like actual thorns. You can do that with either your jeweler's file and just slowly filing closer and closer, and then you can get on this side, kind of round it, make sure it stays in camera, That'll also cut it a little deeper into here, making it get that nice thorn pattern going on. And you go to this side, and then there you go. Now you got your first thorn. And so you should do that to every single one, and then I'll show you what that looks like when it's done. Alright, and that's what it's going to look like when you're finished. This one didn't turn out as well as I hoped it would. It turned out pretty good, but it just didn't turn out as good as the last one. I think my main problem is I had a much smaller area. Whoop, hang on. Got my camera running away from me. Sorry about that. I had a much smaller area to work with. You know, with this knife over here, I probably had almost twice as much area to work with. So it definitely made it a whole lot easier. Almost twice as much. But anyway, it turned out pretty decent for what I did. I went through and filed some other areas that I didn't really like a whole lot, make a little looking. Daggum, I cannot talk tonight. Make them look a little smoother. And once you have it finished, then this is some old sandpaper, but you can go ahead and scratch the surface real quick. Then you can go ahead and go through and sand these areas if you want them to be a lot smoother, or you can take, if you can find them, get some second cut files, which I believe, no, these aren't. Okay, you can get some second cut files or some finishing files, and just go in here. It's a real tedious process making sure everything is right, because, you know, like pretty much everybody knows, once you take metal off, you can't put it back on. So it's definitely a tedious process making sure everything is just the way you want it. But anyway, that's basically what you end up with right there, and that doesn't take very long. You know, I paused this video a couple times to go ahead and get the work done, and this video is going on 17, almost 17 and a half minutes now, and I maybe had it paused for 5-10 minutes total outside of the actual video time. So you're looking maybe at 30 minutes for something like this, and this is a pretty simple, basic pattern. This is one that you see on a lot of knives. There's other ones that you find, like one of those that looks like a chain link, and that one you can do. Sometimes certain people do them with files. Certain people will do them with like Dremels. They'll mark out a section. They'll put so many different like punch marks with a center punch, and you drill a little hole, just mainly a divot. And I was actually watching a video about this the other night, and you make 3 lines and you grind off the upper left and the lower right, and so it kind of interlocks like this with a circle in the middle, and it looks like a chain. It's pretty cool. You'll just have to go check it out on YouTube. That's usually where I find all my stuff. But anyway, one quick tip. Some of these don't look as good as I hoped they would because it kind of shortened them. But if you take your jeweler's file, like this one turned out really well. This one, and that one. If you start from behind the thorn and you kind of rotate your hand, it kind of forces that thorn to kind of curve out. Makes it look like you're curving it out instead of just going straight out. And so it actually looks more like a thorn. Because some of these I couldn't get it to do so. I just kept filing it and it just started filing more material off, and I didn't want to end up with nothing there trying to make it form out. And this one actually ended up with 6 thorns now that I'm looking at it. So what I could do, I didn't measure that out properly. What I could do is just make an extra notch right up here and make an extra thorn and then blend it in. And that would make my 7th thorn, which I'll probably end up doing that. But anyway, that's a basic file pattern and a basic tutorial of how to do a vine thorn pattern. And like I said, I found it on the internet. All I did was I typed in file work